Hello, my name is Steve Sexton. I'm your host. Welcome to the Silver-Haired Tsunami Show. Did you know there's over 100 million people in the United States over the age of 50? This demographic will have a profound effect on economics for decades to come, whether it be health, wealth, travel, real estate. You know what? On the Silver-Haired Tsunami Show, it's all about educating people, getting them the information that they need to know in order to managing the changing tides of retirement. Now, we're about your health, your wealth, and your prosperity. And I want to send out a special thanks to Stephanie Carell and her boyfriend Ryan for educating me on the World International Happiness Day. Now, it was yesterday, but if you see the website up on the screen, it's wonderful. They give you little tidbits on how to bring a little bit of joy into everybody's life. With the world nowadays, with politics and how crazy that is, terrorism, what's going on worldwide, we all need a little bit of happiness. Now, we have some wonderful things going on with the show today. We're going to have Paula Shaw. She's going to talk to us about how people transition into retirement. Bruce McPherson is going to help us dispel all the misconceptions and misinformation about reverse mortgages. And you know what? It's that bucket list time. You want to go on that special trip to Prague or to Saudi Arabia or even to South Africa. Here's the time to do it. Wayne Dunlap's going to help us because he's going to show us how the world's on sale when it comes to travel. Stick with us. We'll be back in a moment.
So, Steve, what's going on?
Oh, I'm so depressed and listless, Paula.
Oh, really?
What do I do?
You don't look depressed and listless.
No, I'm not. This is in our In Your Health segment. This is Paula Shaw. Paula's a transition specialist. See, when you go into retirement, you have this whole life where you've got an identity while you're working, and then you up and retire, and it all changes. You know what? You think you have all this freedom, but what do you do now? What do you do with your time? What is your identity? And this is why we have Paula here. Paula is a radio show host of Transition Radio. She's written this wonderful best-selling book called Grief, When Will the Pain Ever End? And she's here to help us with that retirement transition. Paula, so tell us about some of the things that people are dealing with in retirement.
It's a great question, and I'm so glad that you want to talk about this, Steve, because so many people just think of retirement as this panacea, you know, this, oh, I can't wait till I'm free to do what I want to. I don't have to get up at the crack of dawn. I don't have to fight the traffic anymore. I'll have time to read those books I want to read or play with the grandchildren more. But the truth is, even though there's an old saying that we're human beings, not human doings, we are very caught up in what we do. We're supposed to know and love ourselves for who we are, not necessarily for what we do. But we're a culture, when you're at a cocktail party, people don't say, "Hi, Steve, how do you feel about yourself? What's your life like? What are the challenges that you're dealing with?" No, what they say is, "So what do you do?" And from there, we go on, right? And we tell them about what we do, and that is usually tied into our career identity. When you retire, that's gone. That goes away.
So how does it affect people? What are the side effects of not being prepared for moving into retirement?
Yeah, they can be huge, and they're varied. For some people, it might show up as depression. For others, anxiety, fearfulness. Some people overeat. Some people drink too much. Some people get into erratic behaviors that they don't even understand. And a lot of it is just from this base of, who am I and why am I here and what do I do now that matters?
So the big question is, what do people do? I mean, You know, a lot of people, as a financial professional, I see people, they walk in June and they just got off this beautiful trip and there's I'm retiring tomorrow. I told my boss I'm out of here. You know, how do people get prepared for this?
Well, you know, it is important to acknowledge that there's some great parts of retirement. There are, like the travel, like the freedom, that can be wonderful. But if we don't have structure in our day, we feel listless. You know, and we lose that structure and that daily routine when we retire. So for some people, that actually can end up showing up as depression or anxiety. It can also end up in lots of feelings of, well, what do I do with myself today? You know, and maybe I just end up doing something that's self-destructive because I don't feel like I matter anymore.
You know what, my biggest thing, and I think it's kind of funny that you say that because I'm a person that gets up early and is very, very planned and structured. So it takes me about 2 days to go on vacation after I'm on vacation, just because I've got to create some sort of structure there to do things, and I can see myself falling into that for somebody that's always involved in running businesses and stuff.
Yes.
So the big question is, what steps should people take in order to work themselves into retirement? How do they go about dealing with that?
Well, I think it's an important point that you're talking about what steps should you take. You do need to think about it ahead of time. You do need to create something that you want to do and pretty much on a daily basis that feels good to you and that has meaning, so that you don't fall into any self-destructive patterns or feelings that are not self-loving, you know, that are just critical and debilitating. So,
like, for example, mapping out the type of things that you want to do when you're going to retire. So giving them a visual for what retirement looks for them, that besides going on the trips, it's like, okay, here's what I want to do. I'm going to be involved with this charity or that charity, or, you know what, I'm going to start going to the gym every day, or go golfing 3 times a week, get involved with the church, or is it one of those types of creating a structure?
I think that's a fabulous idea in the pre-planning. Once you're there, I have a few tips I'd love to share with the viewers that I think could be really helpful. So the first one is be present. And I know that sounds a little bit trite, but most of the misery in our lives comes from either these little trips we take to the past, thinking about the past, and oftentimes that brings up regret and remorse, or we take a little foray into the future and get all worried about what might happen, and that oftentimes is very anxiety producing. But right here, right now, things are usually okay. They're really good. So, and right here, right now is the only place where we actually fully experience our lives and our aliveness. So being present, I think, is really, really huge, really important.
Is there any skills that people can do, or any exercises to get people to start thinking that? Because everybody deals with that, their junk that they have in the past, and you know, they go, oh my God, how if I don't make this amount of money, I won't be able to get my kids into college. Everybody deals with that.
Yes. In the beginning, it has to be a conscious effort to pull yourself into the present, because you're right, everybody tends to do it. Most of our bodies and minds are never in the same place at the same time. One of the tips I was going to also give is very helpful in bringing you into the present, and that's what I call making gratitude lists or taking gratitude walks, because gratitude is a really high vibration state. And so if you just make a list of everything that exists right here, right now, that you're grateful for, that can really be helpful and also really raise your attitude and take you into a much more positive state. A gratitude walk is a great idea because, you know, at this point in life, it's move it or lose it. So, or use it or lose it.
That's true.
And maybe both. Move it and use it or lose it. And when you're walking, just looking at look around you. Maybe you're grateful that that flower bloomed and it's so beautiful, or that the temperature's perfect today, or the sky's blue. There are always many, many things to be grateful for, and that automatically shifts you into a higher state.
That's wonderful, Paula. Thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome.
If you would like to connect with Paula Shaw, go to the Silver-Haired Tsunami website. If you'd like to get this book, it's a wonderful book. It's Grief, When Will the Pain Ever End? It talks about things, not just about losing somebody, but possibly losing a job or a pet or something like that. We all have grief. It's how to deal with it. So go to the Silver-Haired Tsunami website. There's a lot of different exercises that Paula has on there that you can connect with her Facebook, with her YouTube page, and so on. Again, thank you for being with the show.
Thank you, Steve. It was wonderful to be here.
Next up, we have Bruce McPherson talking to us about the myths and misconceptions about reverse mortgages.
Hi, I'm Steve Madsen. My wife Debbie and I are the owners of this fabulous home in beautiful Coronado. We decided to put solar in the home because we wanted to have a smaller carbon footprint and we wanted to save some money. I'm a retired contractor and I've worked with Baker Electric in the past, so when I found out they had a solar division, I was ecstatic. They're a good company, got integrity, a good work ethic. I would definitely recommend Baker. My wife and I are extremely happy with what they've done for us.
In the financial industry, especially when people get older, there's a lot of misinformation, misconceptions around financial products. One of the biggest financial products that there's a lot of misconceptions about is reverse mortgages. People don't understand what's going on. They think that the bank's going to pay you a little bit of money, and then when you die, the bank takes your house. That's typically not the case. We've brought in reverse mortgage specialist Bruce McPherson from Retirement Funding Solutions. And one of the things I want to tell you about Bruce is one of 120 people out of a field of hundreds of thousands reverse mortgage specialists that has a certified reverse mortgage professional designation. That's 120 out of hundreds of thousands of people that actually have the designation. Why? Because he's earned a reputation as an honest, responsible reverse mortgage professional. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to be here.
Now, one of the big things here that we see, or we hear it all the time, me as a financial professional, is people keep telling me, Steve, you know what? They're going to give me a bunch of payments and then they're going to take my house when I die. Is that really the case? How does it work?
It's one of the biggest myths out there, and there are a lot of myths. Actually, the way it works is, the simple definition of the reverse mortgage, ever since the government got involved and created this program, is that it's a loan program that's federally insured and has the most flexible repayment terms possible. So, for example, if you choose to receive monthly payments, you keep receiving those monthly payments as long as at least one of the people is alive and living in the home, but the lender doesn't take the home. The customer continues to own the home, but someday when they're gone, that's when the loan balance comes due. In other words, the customer is choosing to defer all payments, both principal and interest payments, until they have passed away or permanently vacated the home. So it's much better than the old reverse mortgages people may have heard
Can you
about.
give us an example of this with one of your clients that you've worked with?
Sure. The first one that comes to mind is a client who actually, she just recently passed away. Back in 2006, I provided a reverse mortgage for a really nice couple. They were in their mid to late 70s. They chose to get a combination of all three options that are available within the modern federally insured reverse mortgage program. So they chose to receive monthly payments of about $700 a month, guaranteed for as long as at least one of them lived there. They also chose to take about $30,000 up front to replace their old car. They still owed $10,000 on a home equity line of credit, so the first thing the reverse mortgage did was immediately pay that off, because that's how it works. So they didn't have those monthly payments anymore. And then they also qualified to receive a reverse mortgage line of credit of approximately $60,000.
So what you're saying is they paid off a car, took income, or I'm sorry, paid off their mortgage, bought a car, and then took income, and then they still had an equity line of about $60,000 that they can tap into in case something else happened.
That's right. And what makes this equity line so much better than a traditional home equity line of credit is, number one, it's federally insured. It cannot be frozen or arbitrarily reduced or taken away even if home values fall. So, for example, shortly after they got their reverse mortgage, we had the home value crisis. Home values collapsed. Nothing happened to their line of credit. It stayed in place. In fact, it continued to grow for them. The other great thing about the line of credit is the credit that's there that hasn't been spent yet is always growing based on the growth rate. And this is something that articles that I've read about reverse mortgages hardly ever mention.
So that means if it was growing by 5% over a 10-year period on $60,000, they might have $95,000, $100,000 in there that they could use. And even though the house value isn't anywhere near where it should be, it doesn't matter. That's how the contract is.
That's right. I mean, their home, when they got their reverse mortgage, it appraised for $360,000. Eventually, home values collapsed, so it went way down. it didn't affect them at all. Their credit line kept growing for them.
Now, you also said they passed away, so what happened next?
Well, what happened? Well, so a couple years after they got it, the husband passed away.
Okay.
And so the wife called me because she couldn't remember if anything would change, and she was reassured that no, nothing happens as long as she continues to own the home and live there. And then just about several months ago, she called because she wanted to start taking money from the line of credit because she needed to pay for some in-home caregiver assistance. And so I helped her do that. Not that my help is required, but I helped her with that anyway. And then unfortunately, just a couple weeks ago, I got a call from their son telling me that she had passed away. And
so what happens, okay, now that she's passed away, what happens? The house gets sold?
Well, that's another one of the biggest myths. So a lot of people think it automatically gets sold, but that's just one of two options. So first of all, her son, he believed the same myths that we all hear. So he thought that we were just going to take the home. He just wanted to know how it worked. So he was relieved when I explained that. He had the option of selling the home, in which case the reverse mortgage debt is paid back, just like when you sell any house that has any type of mortgage on it. And his other option is that he could keep the home by paying back the loan balance. And I don't know yet what he's going to do. He has several months to decide what he wants to do.
Several months? When you say how many months do they have to decide?
Well, you've got up to 6 months. And then once you've decided, then you can get extensions for a total of another 6 months. So you can end up taking a whole year to sell the home if that's what you decide to do, or refinance the debt.
Wow, Bruce, thank you so much for coming in and dispelling those myths about reverse mortgages. There's some of the things you just told me that I didn't know, because I didn't know people had 6 months and can get it extended another 6 months to make a decision. That's really important, especially when you have estates that are unfolding. And one of the nice things that you told me was, people have the opportunity where this equity line grows, they could use it in case they're having incapacity issues and they need help at home. So that's wonderful. You know what? If you would like to get some information about reverse mortgages, don't you have a reverse mortgage guide?
Yes, I do. If people want to call my toll-free number, or they can get all of my contact information on my website, which is reversemortgagebruce.com.
Perfect. And you can go to the Silver-Haired Tsunami website and get the same information and order Bruce's guide. Now, next, we have a bucket list. This bucket list is wonderful because if you're looking to go to Croatia, South Africa, or even Japan, this is the right time to do it because Wayne Dunlap's going to tell us how the world from a travel perspective is on sale. Stick with us. We'll be with you in a moment. Hi. According to the Fiscal Times, the big question is, how long will your money last? Here's what Americans think. You know what? Most Americans are really concerned about the advances in healthcare because people are living now past the age of 80. In fact, a recent study by the Fiscal Times indicate that 25% of people believe their money in retirement only lasts about 15 years, while about half of all respondents say that, you know what, their money only lasts about 25 and they're a bit afraid of that. So the key thing here is this: if you got 5 to 7 years before you're going to retire, now's the time to start creating a plan. What you really want to do is simply write down your income and expenses when you're in retirement. You don't want to forget about budgeting and buying new cars, redoing the roof. Dental gets expensive in retirement. And most importantly is you want to adjust your expenses for inflation. Now, big thing with homeowners, you know what? People, and especially in California, are house rich and cash poor. So they have to start looking at what are they going to do with their house? Are they going to downsize? Are they going to use a reverse mortgage in retirement? Because you got to remember, in retirement, it is all about your income so you can do those wonderful things that you need to do when you're in retirement. Second, simplify your finances. Many people work for multiple companies now, have multiple 401ks. It's easier to put them all in the same place, meaning if you've got one at Fidelity and one at Vanguard, move them all over to Fidelity, okay? And then what you also want to do is simplify from an expense standpoint. You want to get an understanding what your true cost of your investments are. Why? Because a lot of mutual funds, especially with 401ks, have fees that exceed 1.5%. And if you can drop that in half by using exchange traded funds or other products that don't have fees, it could save you a lot of money in retirement and also make sure your money lasts longer. Next, reduce or eliminate taxation. You could use Roth as well as IRAs and use the distributions from those to reduce your taxation. Also, there's tax-deductible investments, tax-advantage investments. So you want to look at all those and understand how it's going to fit you, because the reality is when you get into your 80s, you never want to have a doctor's appointment where he says you're going to live 5 more years, but you only have 2 more years worth of money. Next, asset allocation. You know what? You want to look at, hey, how much money do I want in Wall Street? Stocks, bonds, mutual funds. How much do I want in predictable income investments that are not correlated to the market? And how much do I want in guarantees? The only thing that's guarantees are banks and insurance companies. This way you can have a good portion of your assets that aren't correlated to the stock market and actually save you money. And last, eliminate debt. Those high interest rate credit cards will draw down your budget in retirement, make it much harder to retire and have a fruitful life in retirement. So find a way to get rid of that debt. Start working on the lower interest rates, things such as homes and cars. That's the tip of the day. Right next, we have bucket list items with Wayne Dunlap. And the big thing here is this. You want to understand how the world is on sale when it comes to travel, and Wayne's going to tell us. Wayne, here you go.
Hi, my name is Chuck Cassidy. I live in the Meadowview area of Temecula, and I chose Baker Electric Solar. Everybody and his brother is selling and installing solar these days, and you really have no way of knowing, are you going to get what you pay for? My electric bill has been in the minus every month for the past 2 years. Very few things in life these days come out the way you want. This was one of them.
Hi, and welcome back to the Silver-Haired Tsunami. We have a wonderful segment for you. You know what, in this show, we want to show you that bucket list. One of the biggest items on people's bucket list is travel. In 2016, AARP indicates that for boomers, it will be a bumper year for travel, and that's why we brought an expert. I'd love to tell you about Wayne. Wayne and Pat, husband and wife, they've traveled for more than 100 countries, 44 states. Wayne is actually a award-winning photojournalist, but what you don't know, he's also one of the top 25 travel bloggers in the world. In fact, he's considered the top boomer travel blogger to follow. Now, he's wrote this wonderful book called Plan Your Escape. It's about how to travel for less and what it costs to stay at home. And you know what? Wayne's come here to help us out. And one of the big things about Wayne is this. See, when he talks to people about how they can get more out of travel for less, even though you might be on a luxury budget or a real small budget. And plus he has wonderful travel trips. Wayne, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Steve.
Wayne, you know what? One of the big things this year is economics. And I know you're an economics professor. And with all that's going on economically, I understand it's a great year for people to go travel because it's on sale.
Yeah, economics is in our favor right now. The world is on sale, and it's exciting. A lot of economies around the world are starting to slow down, while the U.S. economy is growing slowly, but still growing. So the exchange rate is fabulous all around the world. What it means, you can save money, you can start splurging on more expensive destinations, you can upgrade to that nicer hotel, or just do what my wife and I, just travel a lot more with the same amount of money.
Well, let me ask you this. If I want to go to Europe, I want to go to London or Paris and see the Louvre, you know, what kind of discount am I looking at because of exchange rates?
Yeah, it's exciting. The euro now, the U.S. dollar has appreciated 20% in the last year and a half over the euro. So there's 23 countries in Europe, and Europe is the most popular destination for American travelers. And so Europe now is on sale because of our exchange rates. The British pound, which is not part of the euro, is up. We're up about 15% over the British pound. My wife and I just booked a trip to go through the English countryside, and we're finding really nice bargains all through Europe right now.
Now, here's the next thing. You know, I understand you just got back from the Cook Islands. I don't know if you got the sand out of your hair yet.
Well, we're almost getting it out, but I don't want to get it all out yet because that was such a beautiful trip.
Now, what is it like over there from an exchange rate standpoint?
Yeah, well, this is really exciting. The South Pacific tends to be one of the most expensive destinations in the world. It's your splurge destination. But most of the tourists come from Australia or New Zealand, so they quote all their prices in Australian and New Zealand dollars. Now get this, the U.S. currency is up 40% to the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. So that means that we can go to some of our favorite destinations like Fiji, and there's a direct flight from Los Angeles to Fiji, and we can stay in what used to cost like $300 a night for $200 a night. So,
wow.
So now is the time to go splurge on a South Pacific vacation. The other one, the Cook Islands, as you mentioned, oh, unbelievable. Again, a direct flight from Los Angeles, 40% appreciation to their prices, and Akataki is the most beautiful destination my wife and I have ever been to. It's a phenomenal time to go see the South Pacific.
Now, what about other places like Japan, South Africa, places like that? How is it with the exchange rate?
The U.S. currency is appreciating all through the Europe right now, and also the world right now. Japan is a perfect example. They're having troubles over there. The dollar's up 50% to Japanese. And then other countries all through South America, like Chile, Argentina, Brazil, again, up about 40 or 50%.
Well,
so.
I've got to ask this question because I've been looking at South Africa.
Yeah.
Is South Africa one of those ones?
South Africa is on the list of 50%. We're up 50% over a year and a half of exchange dollars to the South African
if
rand.
on my bucket list, I want to go to South Africa and ride an elephant, yeah. I can do it for 50% cheaper.
Well, it's 50% appreciation. So
well,
yeah,
no, I understand that.
It's a lot cheaper. Yeah.
So if I'm buying in U.S. dollars, I can spend half as much as I would last year.
The only thing that I caution on this particular advice is that we haven't seen the same thing with airfare.
Okay.
And I think we're going to be doing an upcoming section here, how to get on the plane to be the one to pay the lowest cost. So
yes,
stay tuned to this show. But we'll tell you more about that. But airfare doesn't seem to be affected by these exchange rates. But everything else is on sale. So the trips are 2016. It's a time to travel for Americans. It's phenomenal out there.
Wayne, thanks for being on the show today. Now, one of the things that you do want to do is you want to go to our website at the Silver-Haired Tsunami. Why? Because you can get one of Wayne's books called Plan Your Escape. It's a 5-star travel book. And Wayne, what do you talk about here in the book?
Well, we talk about all kinds of things. One, there's a lot more tips how to save money, but we talk about security, how to pack, all the issues. We traveled the world we've been to 100 countries now, and we got lots of questions. And we had answers for it because we had practical experience. And so question after question that people have by travel, we just slowly answered it all the way through the book. Try to make it the most comprehensive how to travel book in the world.
That's wonderful. And you know what? The big thing here is you also want to go to our website at Silver-Haired Tsunami and get connected with this unhookednow.com. That's where you're going to find travel discounts, and you're going to find special, unique trips, the whole shot. So, Wayne, again, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
And we'll be back. Stick with us. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Wasn't Wayne wonderful? The bucket list. Don't you ever, I would love to go to Antarctica. I'd love to go to Alaska. Wouldn't you love to go to South Africa, row ride an elephant? If you got that on your bucket list, that story by Wayne was wonderful. The world's on sale for travel, so do it this year. Paula Shaw, she helped us work through the transition of retirement. And you know what? We lose our work identity, and then we create a new one for ourselves. And she's helped with those steps. And then finally, Bruce McPherson shared with us, or actually got rid of those misconceptions, misinformation that lead to unrealistic expectations that frustrated us all with reverse mortgages. Now, our whole goal is to educate you and inform you so you can manage those changing tides of retirement. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week. Have a nice day.